Which team to be the perfect fit for him, consensus-wise then, Tom?
New England was the team that kept coming up.
AFC East is one of the best divisions in football. Josh Allen and the Bills have been potential contenders ever since his breakout season in 2020. Miami has created the fastest offense in the NFL with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle lighting up secondaries, and even the Jets have Aaron Rodgers now, looking to rebound off an Achilles tear with sights set on a Super Bowl. It's mind-boggling to think that for so many years the New England Patriots dominated over their inferior division opponents, and now they're clearly lesser squad in a stacked division. It's abundantly clear that New England is rebuilding, regardless of how much they try to spread the narrative that they want to win now. But what if the Patriots can be more competitive sooner rather than later? Obviously, the most important piece of the puzzle that everything else depends on is the quarterback situation. The Patriots selected Drake Maye with the third overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft after trading former first-round pick Mac Jones in the offseason. This corresponds with the firing of Bill Belichick, which signifies an enormous shift in identity for New England. With both a rookie quarterback and a first-year head coach in Drake Maye, the Patriots are diving headfirst into a long-needed refresh. You might think that Maye and Mayo will need some time to adapt before this roster becomes truly competitive, and while you are probably right, that's not necessarily the case. Teams are winning with less experienced players and coaches more than ever before, with the most recent example being the 2023 Houston Texans in an extremely similar situation to the modern-day Patriots. The Texans had been struggling for a few years after parting ways with Deshaun Watson, so they brought in first-year head coach DeMeco Ryans and drafted C.J. Stroud with the number 2 overall pick to be Watson's replacement. As you know, Stroud lit up the NFL in his historic rookie campaign, and the Texans were highly successful in their one-year turnaround. While this certainly isn't going to be the case for every team's rebuild, it's pretty much a dream scenario. They did show that teams have the capacity to be competitive with a lot of new faces and a lack of experience. In hindsight, Stroud would have been taken over Bryce Young, but in that class, Stroud wasn't even the first quarterback off the board. Getting back to the Patriots, Drake Maye also wasn't the first quarterback off the board, with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels going just before him. But this was a generational quarterback class, and for a lot of years, Drake Maye could have been the number 1 overall pick. With that being said, Maye has all the tools to succeed early if the team around him can be good enough. The Patriots definitely do not have any elite skill position players, but they do have quite a few guys that can contribute to the upcoming season. Kendrick Bourne is currently listed as the number 1 wide receiver, with Demario Douglas and rookie second-rounder Jalen Polk at number 2 and number 3, respectively. General manager Elliott Wolf also brought in Kendrick Bourne, who has been solid in Minnesota, and drafted Javon Baker, who may have been one of the steals of this entire class. Combine that with Juju and Tyquan Thornton, these wideouts aren't going to blow you away, but they could definitely combine to form a solidly productive group. Similarly, at the running back spot, Ramondre Steven can get the job done, but this isn't going to be turning any heads. What might be the more important factor, though, is how the Patriots have quietly constructed a pretty good offensive line. One of their biggest wins in free agency was bringing back right tackle Mike Onwenu, who is going to anchor that side of the line. Sau at right guard and Andrews at center are both coming off decent rookie seasons with still a lot to improve on, and the combination of Chukwuma Okorafor and Cole Strange on the left is good enough to hold down the fort for their young signal caller. We've seen how poor protection can derail young quarterbacks, making the offensive line crucial for Maye's early success. While there might not necessarily be any elite playmakers on this offense yet, the team is exceptionally young. The wide receivers, in particular, have ample time to develop and could be key contributors in the near future. The other side of the ball, it has considerably more talent, with Matthew Judon and Christian Barmore bringing in one of the better pass rushes in the league. On top of that, the Patriots drafted a young star in Christian Gonzalez last year, who is going to lead a very good secondary from New England. Opposite Gonzalez is Jonathan Jones, who has been a solid quarterback too. And on the back end is recently re-signed Kyle Duggar, a strong safety, and Jabril Peppers at free safety. This defense is going to fast-track New England's competitiveness in a major way. And while Drake Maye and the offense are still working out the kinks, the defense will be able to hold it down and keep them in games. Recently, though, at the start of training camp, some reports have been coming out about Drake Maye not being able to be the starter to start the season, which actually could be a very positive situation for the Patriots' winning chances in 2024. In free agency, New England reacquired journeyman quarterback Jacoby Brissett, who was formerly drafted by the Patriots under Bill Belichick in 2016. This is the phenomenal move for the organization, as Brissett has proven he can win games when given the starting role, and probably increase the Patriots' odds to win in comparison to Maye if he were to start Week 1. Brissett doesn't just benefit the Pats when he's on the field, though. When Maye finally takes the reins, Jacoby will be an invaluable resource and mentor throughout the remainder of the season, like he has been in years past for many other young quarterbacks. And you may be thinking, well, this is just the same old Patriots. Drake Maye was a disciple of the Belichick tree. He went and got one of Belichick's favorite old quarterbacks, and the team isn't going to look any different come September. But that's not necessarily true. Mayo has commented on multiple different occasions during press conferences about how this is no longer the old Patriot way. While a lot of the same conservative ideology may remain on the field, it seems that there is going to be considerably less restrictions on player freedoms in the locker room and in practices, which could certainly boost morale. There are so many variables and unknowns with this team simply due to the amount of new faces and big roles. But if we are trying to see whether or not the Patriots can be competitive, it's important to actually look at the opponents they are playing against. Of course, their division is going to be very loaded, with all three of their opponents possibly being strong playoff teams. If the Patriots were even able to split all 3 series against each division team, that will be a huge win for the organization. Of course, their division is absolutely loaded, with all 3 opponents potentially being strong playoff teams. If the Patriots were even able to split all 3 series against each division team, that would be a huge win for the organization. That might be out of the question, though. But say they were at least able to split 2 of 3, which would be a 2-4 division record, you still have to see that as a positive given the strength of the group and how early the New England is in the rebuilding process. Ignoring the division opponents, the Patriots play their season opener in the jungle against the Joe Burrow-led Bengals, which is a tough start. Next, they play the Seattle Seahawks in their home opener, which feels like a very winnable game given that Mike McDonald is also a first-year head coach and they could still be fighting their footing early on in the season. After the first 2 games of the season, New England enters a very difficult 4-game stretch that sees them playing against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, on the road against all the way to San Francisco, then at home against the Dolphins, and at home against the young and hungry Texans. Realistically, if the Patriots were able to be 3-3 through Week 6, that would be a phenomenal outcome, but 2-4 feels a little more likely with how difficult the start of their schedule is. Week 7 starts an easier stretch that carries through the middle of their season, though, seeing them face the Jacksonville Jaguars, then the Jets in Foxborough, the Tennessee Titans, and then finally the Chicago Bears in Week 10. The Patriots must play well in this portion of their schedule in order to stay in the hunt for a wildcard spot, probably needing at least 3 wins over this 4-game span. The remainder of the season is somewhat difficult, with a Week 11 home matchup against the Rams, followed by their road rematch against the Dolphins, another home game against the Colts, and a road game against the Cardinals. After their bye week, the Patriots have to travel back across the continent for a road game against the Bills, and then 2 home games to close out the season against the Chargers and the Bills for their second time in 2 weeks. Once again, if New England can go even over this span, they have a decent shot for a wild card spot come playoff time. That is a big if, though, considering the circumstances. Evaluating the season as a whole, it's easy to say that the absolute floor for New England is 4-13. Now, before you Patriots fans gets typing in the comment about how I'm being unfair, I think their absolute ceiling is 10-7, which is a pretty good football team and definitely considered competitive in the division. I believe they'll fall somewhere in the middle, probably closer to 8-9, but that would still be a very good outcome for Drake Maye and Drake Maye in year 1. While it is possible for the Patriots to be competitive this season, the real hope is that Drake Maye is able to put some good film on tape and so that he can transition into a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. Even if Maye were able to adapt to the league quickly and be a solid player this season, the Patriots don't have the talent around him on offense to be true contenders just yet. The focus for now should be on developing their young quarterback, allowing him to become as comfortable as possible at a much faster pace of play in the NFL offense. The man tasked with that job is offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, a former quarterback himself, who was most recently the offensive coordinator for Cleveland, creating a huge emphasis on the run game and play-action passing that has proved very effective over the last few seasons. Operating in this offense will allow Drake Maye to get more comfortable in his footwork and throwing mechanics while also better understanding the flow of an NFL offense. While his mobility can be a big strength when utilized correctly, he also needs to be more decisive in the pocket with a much faster moving pace of the game. The 2 tight end sets that the Patriots continue to rely on in 2024 should prove very beneficial to the comfortability of Maye as he starts taking more reps, not only providing help, but also with Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper functioning as safety blankets that can bail him out of blown up plays. Perfectly evaluating what will happen with the Patriots is almost impossible. There are way too many moving parts and question marks that will only be answered when players actually take the field. How competitive they'll be this season remains to be seen, but if Drake Maye turns into the player we've all seen he has the potential to be, the Pats could have some nucleus to build around for the future.